perfection. The three worlds. 7 is the number of the totality of manifestation. 3 is the number of consciousness. 1 is the number of life or spirit. 4. Electric fire, solar fire, fire by friction. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Spirit, consciousness, matter. 69 with the 7 sub-planes, reminding the student that we are speaking of the planes as the field of evolution of the solar logos, and not only as a field for the development of man. In the solar system we have, first, the 3 higher planes, which have been rightly called the planes of the 3 aspects. Second, the 7th logoic principle is on the first plane, and we can consider it as the impulse in physical matter which produced his body of objectivity. On the second plane are found the 7 heavenly men, who are his principal centers of force. There are others, but we are not here concerned with them. These latter have achieved a certain specific goal, and are the embodiment of centers which are now quiescent, or out of manifestation, the logoic kundalini having turned its attention elsewhere. Under another enumeration they make the 10 of the esoteric life, and can also be enumerated as 12, thus forming the 12-petaled lotus, or the heart center in the body of the one about whom naught may be said. On the 4th cosmic ether, the Buddhic plane, are found the etheric centers of the logos. There are to be found the esoteric planets and the sun, viewed as the center of the Buddhic principles, and from thence the logos animates his dense physical manifestation. Finally, on the 3 lower planes we have his gaseous, liquid, and dense bodies or sheaths, forming in themselves a unity in one peculiar sense. They are as much a coherent whole as the 3 higher planes form a unified triple expression of the 3 persons of the Trinity. We have a similar analogy in the subplanes of each plane in the system, and this will become ever more apparent, as man achieves a greater clarity of vision, and can consciously ascertain for himself the truth about the subjective life. Let us briefly take these planes and study the life or force manifestation on each, laying the emphasis upon the lower 4, and not so much upon the planes which do not concern man so closely. The logoic plane. The first, the second, and the third subplanes of the first cosmic ether respond specifically to the vibration of one of the 3 aspects, or to those cosmic entities whose influence reaches the matter of the planes from without the system altogether. On the 4th subplane comes a primary blending of the 3 fiery lives, producing archetypally that force manifestation of electricity which eventually causes the blazing forth of the sons of light on the next plane. In this electrical connotation we have the 3 higher planes ever embodying the threefold spirit aspect, the lower 3 embodying the threefold substance aspect, and then a plane of at-one-ment where an approximation is made which, on the path of return, marks the moment of achievement, and the point of triumph. This is succeeded by obscuration. Hence on every plane in the solar system we have a 4th plane whereon the struggle for perfect illumination, and subsequent liberation takes place, the battleground, the Kurukshetra. Though for man the 4th plane, the Buddhic, is the place of triumph, and the goal of his endeavor, for the heavenly man it is the battleground, while for the solar logos it is the burning ground. This differentiation of the subplanes of the systemic planes into a higher 3, a lower 3, and a central plane of harmony is only so from the standpoint of electrical phenomena, and not from the standpoint of either pure spirit, or pure substance, viewed apart from each other. It concerns the mystery of electricity, and the production of light. The 3 higher planes concern the central forces or lives, the 3 lower concern the lesser forces or lives. We must bear this carefully in mind, remembering that to the occultist there is no such thing as substance, but only force in varying degrees, only energy of differentiated quality, only lives emanating from different sources, each distinctive and apart, and only consciousness producing intelligent effect through the medium of space. I would point out that the Lord Agni shows forth his fiery life on the atomic subplane of each plane. He shows forth as solar fire on the second, third and fourth, and as fire by friction on the fifth, sixth and seventh. From the point of view of the microcosm, the spark in the flame, man demonstrates as electric fire on the second plane, or the second cosmic ether. As solar fire on the third, fourth and the three higher subplanes of the fifth plane, and as fire by friction on the lower subplanes of the fifth, on the sixth, and seventh planes. See the planes and the three fires. On every plane we have, relatively speaking, a electric fire, demonstrating as the prime condition on the higher three. B. Fire by friction as the most significant factor on the lower three. C. Solar fire, showing forth as the blaze produced by union on the central plane. In the solar system this is to be seen in connection with the heavenly man on the Buddhic plane, where they blaze forth through their etheric centers. In connection with man on the mental plane, we have a similar condition. The three higher subplanes concern the spirit aspect in the causal body, the three lower subplanes concern primarily the mental sheath, or fire by friction. The fourth subplane is that on which the four centers of the mental body are to be found. So it is on the physical plane for man, his etheric centers being located in matter of the fourth ether. Each of the three persons of the Trinity manifests equally as does a man, as spirit, soul or ego, and substance. In connection with Brahma, we have the spirit aspect, animating the three higher subplanes of every plane, or the first fire aspect. His soul aspect is found on the fourth subplane of each plane, where are situated the etheric centers of all manifested entities. His substance aspect is primarily contacted on the three lower subplanes. Hence we have the 49 fires of matter, or the 7 fires of each plane, the union of the higher three and the lower three producing that blaze which we call the wheels of fire, or the centers on the fourth subplane of each plane. In connection with the second aspect there is a similar condition. Solar fire blazes forth in its electrical aspect on the second plane, and demonstrates thus also on the third and fourth planes, but finds its central demonstration on monasic levels, shining through the causal vehicles of the egoic groups. Only 2.5 planes then remain through which the fire by friction aspect may manifest, 18 subplanes in all which concern the third aspect of the second person of the Logoic Trinity. For man, the microcosm, a similar differentiation is possible. His monad can be studied in its threefold essence on its own plane, his egoic aspect likewise, and the Brahmi aspect of the ego is found within the permanent atoms. Students should therefore study with care. 1. The planes. The manifestation of Brahma, the third or substance aspect, and should apply to this entity the same triple constitution as is apparent in the other two. The planes of electric fire, the planes of his lower nature, and the point of blazing forth or conflagration for him, the etheric centers, must be carefully studied. Brahma is the positive life of matter. He is the revelation of substance, and the blaze that can be seen. 2. Vibration. The manifestation of the second aspect. These vibrations of consciousness are the major three words which are the sum total of egoic life, the minor three which govern the third aspect of the ego, and the chord of at-one-ment which is that which is sounding forth now. The three aspects of spirit as they are seen can only be expressed in terms of the other two in this solar system, and of their nature extra-systemically not can profitably be said at this stage of cognition. The above thoughts upon the planes, and the ninefold nature of all that is, take one into regions as yet almost beyond the grasp of man. Yet only when the substance aspect is studied by the scientist in its triple nature will truth be approximated, and the true nature of electrical phenomena, be comprehended. Then and only then will electricity be harnessed and utilized by man as a unity, and not just in one of its aspects as at present. The negative electricity of the planet is all that is, as yet, contacted for commercial purposes. It must be remembered that this term is used in the sense of negative in relation to solar electricity. When man has found out how to contact and utilize positive solar electricity in combination with negative planetary electricity, we shall have a very dangerous condition brought about, and one of the factors which will eventually manifest in the destruction of the fifth root race by fire. At that great cataclysm, as the Bible says, the heavens will melt with fervent heat. 17,170. This will be seen in a still greater degree in the next round, and will cause that destruction by fire of the forms of the men who have failed, which will liberate the lives on a stupendous scale, and thus temporarily purify the earth from elements which would tend to hinder the evolutionary process. As the cycles pass away, the balancing of these fiery currents will be gradually brought about, and will result in a planetary condition of harmony, and of esoteric equality, which will provide ideal environment for harmonious man. Only when the soul aspect is studied by the psychologist in its threefold essential nature will the mystery of consciousness become apparent, and the nature of the three magnetic groups, in their various subdivisions with their consequent effectual radiation become a factor in the public life. This concerns itself with the definite development of the psyche underlying, with the scientific expansion of the consciousness, and will eventually bring about conditions wherein the work, preliminary to the first initiation, will be purely exoteric, and no longer part of an esoteric process. In due course of time, it will be found that the self-induced efforts whereby a man consciously prepares his centers for the application of the rod of initiation at the first initiation, will be the subject of books, and of lectures, and form part of the ordinary thought of the masses. This again will eventuate in a cleavage between the two groups in the middle of the fifth round. It must be remembered that this cleavage will be part of a natural process, and not a drastic ruling, imposed upon an unwilling people. The knowers and the students of the knowledge actuated by group consciousness, and working consciously will separate themselves in group formation from those who know not, and from those who care not. This cleavage will be self-induced, and a natural outgrowth of the group life. It will in itself be of a temporary nature, for the fundamental aim in view will be the bringing about of an eventual closer merging. It will mark primarily the line of demarcation between the lower four rays of consciousness, and the higher three. It is also a mystery hidden in the relationship between the four exoteric gumeras, 17,271, and the esoteric three, and from the point of view of man separates those who are developing the consciousness of the triad from those who as yet are living the life of the quaternary. It concerns those who respond to the solar lords, distinguishing them from those who recognize as yet only the control of the lunar lords. In terms of fire, those who warm themselves by means of fire by friction, and respond not to the heat of solar fire remain within the cavern, thus living in the dark. Whilst those whose being is irradiated by the sun of wisdom, and who bask in the rays